So hello everyone, I'm Tofu and today we're going to be doing a ranking video. As I mentioned in my previous video, I wanted to do a ranking video of the NPCs in Animal Crossing, so that's what we're doing. I've got myself a list of all the character names, so hopefully I can actually remember them. Let's get this started. And firstly, we start with Blanca. So I actually do like Blanca as a character. A little bit weird, a little bit mysterious, but obviously very fitting for April Fool's Day and that whole event. I'm a little bit kind of upset, I guess, over the fact that they didn't include this kind of event in Animal Crossing New Horizons, but at the same time I can kind of understand why they wouldn't. Blanca's a little bit strange, a little bit unsettling, but I'm going to start off with a good category. Obviously, as you can see by the categories, best of the best, great, good, okay, meh, bad, and don't know. So pretty self-explanatory for each section. Right, next up we have Blathers, and I do like Blathers. I like him a lot. Unfortunately, he does kind of go on a bit when obviously you first start the game. You have to just pour through dialogue. It takes too long. But as far as it is his design, what he actually does, he's great. So naturally, that's where he's going. Okay, next up is Booker, one of the police officers you can get in New Leaf. I'm not sure if either of the police officers are in any other game, but Booker always kind of came across as I don't know, he just seemed to be the kind of slightly more undesirable police officer, to be honest. But he had the nicer police station. It was kind of a bit more rustic. It felt like it fit in New Leaf a lot more. I think I'm going to put him okay. He was alright, but I think the other police officer was just kind of better. Okay, Brewster. A lot of people seem to really like Brewster. I'm kind of, I don't know, on the fence. He's alright. I like the cafe. I like the fact that it just gives you another little thing to do in Animal Crossing, but certainly in New Horizons it just doesn't feel like there's a lot of stuff there. Like New Leaf, obviously you would jump behind the counter, you would actually help with the coffee making. It's a little mini game essentially, whereas New Horizons you just basically press A, you get coffee, and then you run off, and that's like another just daily done for the day. So I'm gonna put him in okay for now. Honestly, since New Horizons I'd probably say meh, but overall I think he's okay. CJ. I don't know, I'm not really sure with CJ. Obviously I like the whole fact that they've, I guess, modernised the kind of fishing tournament, but it's a little bit obnoxious with the whole like, I'm streaming constantly and he's taking photos and like almost every time you talk to him. So he's kind of going in meh. I think he could be better. He's certainly not the worst, but it could be better. Right, we have Celeste now, the sister obviously of Blathers, and design wise I think she's adorable. I love the fact that she doesn't go on and on like Blathers does, and she gives you some really kind of cool items. So she's going kind of next to her brother in great. Okay, next up is Chip, and he was kind of the predecessor to CJ, so he was the one that would host all the fishing tournaments in the previous games. Again, kind of like CJ, I think it's a bit meh, and certainly in New Leaf, I don't know about any other kind of games, but if you gave him a fish when you were doing the fishing tournament, he would just kind of eat them, and that's kind of upsetting. Just obviously I understand that, you know, fish get eaten, especially in New Horizons you can actually make food dishes with fish involved, but when you're giving a fish over to be judged and then he just eats it straight up, it just feels very disrespectful. Okay, next up we have is Copper. He's the other policeman, or the other police dog I should say, and he had the more kind of modern police station for New Leaf, but I think design wise and character wise he was just a better character, so he's going into good. I think he could have been great if his police station just seemed to fit in a lot more in New Leaf, but it was very kind of stark compared to the rest of the island, so that was a bit of a shame. But as far as the actual character design goes, yeah, I think good is a good fit for him. Next up we have Cornimer, which is just Tortimer wearing an acorn and obsessed with acorns for some reason. I don't really understand the concept of this. Maybe it's a Japanese thing, I don't know, but he's going into meh. Acorns, especially in New Horizons, is something you can obviously get hold of fairly easily. If he gave you pine cones, then he'd probably gone into the section above, because pine cones seem to be a lot harder to get hold of, whereas acorns, you just end up finding them just doing dailies constantly, so you never really run out, you never really use all of them in the recipes you can make. Yeah, just very strange. Okay, Cyrus. I do like Cyrus. I love the functionality of obviously him either remaking things in New Leaf and jazzing them up using the gems and things like that, or in New Horizons, now they've added him and obviously his wife Reese, he remodels all the kind of furniture items and gives them all the different colours, and obviously certain colours that you can even obtain using the customization kits, so he's going into great. Okay, Daisy May. I think Daisy May's really kind of adorable design. I love the fact that obviously she's kind of taking over from the turnip business instead of Joan, and kind of essentially giving Joan her retirement. The only kind of, I guess, quip I have with her is that kind of snot drip from her nose. But other than that, I think she's really kind of just adorable, like I said, so she's going into good. It'll be interesting to see her in the future and if they kind of like just keep her as she is or almost kind of make her a little bit more mature. Okay, next up we have Digby. And I think Nintendo did Digby dirty by, in New Leaf, putting him over the Happy Home kind of showcase area, and so you never really saw him very much, you didn't really use him very much. They had the perfect opportunity to bring him back in New Horizons as part of the Happy Home Paradise DLC, and they didn't. I don't know why they did that, but design-wise, I think he's amazing. I absolutely love him, but he's going in great. I just wish Nintendo had an idea as to what to do with him, and they gave him a purpose. It's just such a shame that they have such a great design character, and they don't do anything with it. Next up, we have Don Rossetti. And honestly, I'm not really sure what Don Rossetti does. Like, every now and again you see him in the cafe in New Horizons. He's meant to be the brother of Rossetti, but yeah, what does he do? I don't actually know. I'm gonna have to probably look that up. But design wise, I like him just because he's kind of different from obviously Rossetti, so I'm gonna put him in okay. If I knew kind of what he did, he might go in a higher category, but yeah, I think okay is just fitting for him. So, Dr. Shrunk. So in New Leaf, he was the character that taught you the emotions, and so you could actually emote, and he'd do that via Club LOL or 101, depending on how you read it. I think he was really good for the functionality. Obviously, he had a massive purpose in that obviously he would teach you all the emotes, and so he was really good for that. Design-wise, he is unique because he's an axolotl, but he is a little bit strange looking. So, I think he's going to go in good. Again, his strangeness as far as appearance is kind of, I think, outdone by the fact that he had a massive function in New Leaf and gave you all the emotes. Obviously that kind of job has been replaced by the villagers in New Horizons, but I'm not upset by that, but at the same time, you know, he was a decent character while he was in the series. Okay, the next character is Farley, and I believe he featured in the kind of more, well, the original Animal Crossing games, and honestly, I've not played them before, I don't really know anything about him, so he's going to go into the don't know category. Next up we have Flick, and I really like Flick's design. I think he's a great addition to New Horizons. He's not nearly as obnoxious as CJ, and he just seems to love the bugs. Like, CJ obviously loves the fish, but he almost has that kind of trying to chase views kind of idea, I guess. Whereas I think Flick just does it naturally for the love of the insects. So I'm actually going to put him in great. Next up we have Franklin. He's the turkey, which obviously does the Thanksgiving event in Animal Crossing. I think design wise he's pretty cool. Like, obviously he's very fitting, especially for a Thanksgiving type event, and him being a chef. I like in previous games how obviously he would kind of get nervous over the fact that people are trying to chase him to essentially cook him. They've obviously given him a more of a chef, and he is the head chef kind of feel in New Horizons, so everyone has to gather the ingredients for him to then prepare for the dishes. I think I'm going to put him in okay. I kind of like his event. I certainly like the items you get in New Horizons, but I do wish it was a little bit more challenging. I think the most challenging part of it is when he requires a fish for the ingredient list, and then you have to obviously look for said fish, and you don't necessarily get it all the time. It just kind of, I don't know, wastes your time a little bit, but in a good way, I suppose. Okay, next up we have Frillard. This is another character that, to be honest, I don't know anything about. I'm not even sure what game they're from. I presume it's the original Animal Crossing games for the GameCube, but honestly I don't know. So they're going to go in don't know. Much like Farley, I had to look up the name on the Animal Crossing kind of NPC list that I've got on my phone, just to make sure that I did actually get their name right. Okay, next up we have Gracie. I love Gracie. The fact that she's not in New Horizons is such a shame in my opinion. She gave money kind of a bit more purpose in New Leaf. It meant that obviously any kind of money that you had piling up, you then had a reason to actually spend it, because she would give you all the high-end luxury items that cost like 1 million bells each or something along those lines. They were really, really high priced. And she's an icon, what can I say? I'm putting her in the best of the best. I really wish that she came back into the series. Again, much like I said earlier, she would give money kind of a bit more purpose, gives you another little kind of furniture set to collect. I just don't see why she's not involved. Okay, Grams is the next character, and she is obviously part of the Capin family. I believe she was the one that you had to trade medals for furniture on Tortimer Island in New Leaf. So she had a decent purpose. Design wise, she looks alright. She obviously kind of conveys the grandma look for the whole Capin family. She's going in good. Okay, next up is Gulliver, and they don't actually have Gulliver on this list, which is a bit of a shame, because obviously they're the same character, but at the same time they have different kind of aspects. I do like Gulliver. Obviously he brings the exotic type items. I think the items could be a lot better in New Horizons. Then obviously they brought in Gulliver and he has the pirate items, and so I really do like those. I'm going to put him in good. His nautical puns are something to be desired, but there you go, can't win them all. Okay, Harriet. I really enjoy the fact that they brought Harriet back for New Horizons. I actually prefer her New Leaf design, that is the design shown on this icon here. But I do love the fact that they brought her back. It's a bit of a shame again that she only has like the functionality of like giving you, I think, 10 extra haircuts, something along those lines. And then she just kind of wanders around Halves Island without any kind of purpose. And you can talk to her, but you'll get the same kind of 3 bits of dialogue or so. So the fact she had her own shop in New Leaf, obviously you could change up your hairstyle. I really kind of like that. But design wise, I think she's going in great. I really do like her as a character. Again, I just wish that she had a little bit more functionality in New Horizons, but the fact they brought her back was just a good thing in my opinion. Okay, next up we have Harv. It's kind of a hippie dog, obviously New Horizons. He's the one with obviously his own island. He has the photo shoot area, which is really kind of helpful, especially for making thumbnails. But yeah, it's a little fun kind of thing, and obviously it's a good way of collecting posters for all the kind of characters and things like that. And the fact that when they did the 2.0 update, obviously they brought Harriet onto his island, but they brought back all the different kind of store vendors, so Reese and Cyrus, Kix, Red, Katrina, etc, etc. I think it was such a good addition to the game, and it just made things a lot kind of easier if you were trying to obviously get certain items for decorating. If you're trying to fill in the museum, for instance, for Red and the art, because that can be a pain. I've never actually done it myself. Design wise, I think he looks great. Obviously very much encapsulates the whole kind of hippie vibe that he's, you know, meant to portray. I think he's going in great, much like Harriet did as well. Okay, next up is Isabel. Absolute girl boss, what can I say? She's like kind of one of the mascots along with Tom Nook in this series. So she's obviously in various other games, so Mario Kart and Smash. She's going in best of the best. I think most people would put her there. I wish she had a little bit more functionality, but design wise she's absolutely fantastic. Next we have Jack, the Tsar of Halloween. I think his design is very simple, but very, very eye-catching. Obviously the pumpkin kind of jack-o'-lantern head is just very fitting for his event being Halloween, obviously. He's got a bit of mysteriousness where he's got like a kind of dark robe. You kind of wonder also what's under the jack-o'-lantern, the pumpkin. But design-wise, I think he's pretty good. Naturally, he's going in the good section. Okay, next up is Jingle. And as you would expect from his design, and obviously his name, he is the kind of host of the Christmas event. Design-wise, I think they nailed it. I absolutely love the Christmas event in New Leaf, New Horizons. I think the items you get from that event are fantastic, and I just like the general feel of the event, to be honest. And the fact that you have to dress up as Santa to do the event as well, so it kind of makes December just a little bit more fun for doing it. I'm putting him in great. Little fact, I don't know if this is going to annoy some people, but I actually prefer the Christmas event over the Halloween event in both New Horizons and New Leaf. So next up is Joan, and Joan was obviously replaced by Daisy May in New Horizons, but she was the one that gave you all the kind of turnips in the previous games. Design wise, I kind of like her. I think Daisy May is definitely a cuter version of Joan, but Joan's fine. I'm going to put her in okay. She obviously served a purpose with the whole turnips and stock market. She looks decent, and the fact that she did come back briefly on the 2.0 update, the Happy Home Paradise, so you can see her every now and again. I think it's a Monday if you go into the hospital on the Happy Home Paradise DLC, and she'll give you some free turnips, so that's cool. Okay, KK Slider, everyone's favourite musician. Tom Nook seems to have an obsession with him in New Horizons for some reason, but there we go. I really do like his design. I do find it strange that everyone else has some kind of clothing and he just seems to be some kind of nudist. I'm not sure why they went with that kind of choice, but design wise, obviously he is iconic. I'm going to put him in great. I don't much care for his kind of fever dream at the start of New Horizons when you first start an island though. It's just weird, you dream about the nudist dog playing the guitar to you. Okay, next up is Caitlin. And honestly, I don't really know too much about Caitlin, so unfortunately, she's going to go into the don't know section. Very quick and easy, but I'm sorry, I just don't know much about her. Okay, we have Capin next, and I'm really glad, much like some of the other characters, that they brought him back for New Horizons. I think he was absolutely iconic, obviously with the going on the tours, and I believe he drove the bus at one point in one of the games, so he was kind of the way you got to your town initially in one of, I think it's Wild World, but I could be wrong. But yeah, I'm really glad obviously they brought him back for the tour islands on New Horizons. It felt like by bringing him back they just added another little thing into the game, and obviously it gave you the ability to go to those tour islands, gather things like vines, new bushes, and obviously you can go and get the various kind of special islands such as the Star Fragment Islands. You can get the various different vegetables and fruits and things. It just adds a really cool function to the game. Design wise he's great, and obviously everyone loves his singing, so he's going in great. Okay, Katie. So Katie was in New Leaf. She may have been in other games as well, but honestly I don't know about that. But I really did like her in New Leaf. She would visit your town every now and again, and then the point of it was you would then have to go online and essentially pass her on to a new town, and if you did that, she would then give you a gift. So it was a really good way of trying to encourage people to play with others online. It was a little bit annoying every now and again where, because I would play at night, I would then find her really late on, and trying to then find someone online who I could actually essentially pass her on to get the unique items was a bit of a pain. But design wise, she's really cute. I think she's going in good. I do think she'll be a cool addition to the new game, or if she was introduced into New Horizons. Obviously they're not going to update New Horizons now. But I like that feature that they try and essentially encourage you to try and play with other players online. Okay, Katrina. So I kind of like Katrina. Obviously she has that air of mystery. She is the kind of fortune teller. I like that she got brought back for Halves Island in the 2.0 update for New Horizons. I do wish that she had a bit more items to kind of get hold of from her. The items that she does give you though are really good. I'm going to put her in good. Okay, Kix. Kix. Honestly, design wise, I think he is the best designed NPC in the entirety of Animal Crossing series. I absolutely love his design. I think he looks amazing. The problem I have with him is that obviously he sells shoes, bags, sometimes accessories, things like that, and his choices are just awful. It just feels like you never really use Kix. You'll buy like shoes or a bag from him once or twice, and then you just don't go to him. When you've unlocked the entirety of Halves Island and then you've got all the vendors, he is always the one I run past, because I know he's not going to have any good items. So, whilst I love his design, just his functionality in the games just seem to be really poor. So, what I thought would have been best of the best, I'm putting in great just for the solidness of his design. It's a real shame if they actually kind of gave him more functionality, more reason to go and visit him, more reason to be excited when you actually saw him on your island or in your town. I would have put him right at the top with Isabelle, with Gracie. Okay, next up is LaBelle, obviously one of the 3 Able sisters. She's generally the one that obviously is the kind of fashion icon, the one that gives you the clothing challenges. In New Leaf, I think she had her own kind of like little section of the Able's tailor shop, so she was the one selling accessories. In this game, obviously she challenges you, or New Horizons, sorry, she challenges you to find a particular style, but then she gives you tailor tickets, which I appreciate the reward, but at the same time, they just feel a little bit kind of empty. Like, the clothing isn't expensive, you rack up money really easily. It just feels like there's no real reason to kind of do that challenge, that quest, I guess. Design-wise, she is really good though, so I'm going to put her in good. I think she could have been great if she had kind of a little bit more function, maybe if she was part of the tailors, but yeah. Okay, next up is Leaf. So Leaf is, I believe, a sloth, and obviously a very green thumb. He's the one that allows you to buy the various plants, bushes, things like pumpkins when it's obviously in season, the various crops when they introduce that as well. So functionality, he's great. Obviously he's really useful for when you're designing islands on New Horizons, and he had his own little shop in New Leaf. I think his design is pretty good, so yeah, he deserves to go in good. Okay, next up we have a character that I don't know how to pronounce her name. Leia? I'm sorry. Maybe someone can actually kind of help me in the comments and, yeah, help me pronounce that name. But she was part of Capin's family in New Leaf. I believe she had a tiny little stall on Tortimer's Island, and you would then sell items to her, basically for like half the price, or basically a very kind of discounted price of what you could then actually sell it for. And to be honest, a lot of the time, if I caught something on Tortimer's Island that I didn't particularly want, I would just go up to her. Just because, again, you don't really need the money, but it was just a cute little interaction with a cute character. She's going in good. Next up we have Leilani, so Layla's mother. Again, part of Capin's family. She was on Tortimer Island. She was the one that actually kind of arranged the mini-games on Tortimer's Island. I really wish they brought those kind of mini-games back. That would be a really fun addition to New Horizons, or the new game, I guess, when they eventually release something for the new game, new system. So it was just a real fun way to obviously play with friends, or just random people online. It was sometimes a bit challenging as well. You weren't always guaranteed to win the mini-games. But yeah, I really wish they brought something like that back. She's going in good. Next up we have Lloyd, who is just the gyroid, in which is when you buy various features, so bridges or inclines in this game. He would obviously appear, and he would be the one that you have to make your donations to. Very simple design. It's going in okay. Obviously he has a function, but you know, it could also just have been replaced by Tom Nook basically saying, yeah, pay the donations to me, or pay to the ABD. Okay, next up is Lottie. So I believe Lottie's first introduction into the series was the Happy Home Designer for the 3DS, and they brought her back for the Happy Home Paradise DLC, and I absolutely love the fact that they brought her back. Again, I'm still a bit bitter over the fact that Digby wasn't part of her team on that DLC, but that's nothing against her. I think she's absolutely adorable. She's a girl boss. She's going into the great section. I do think Otter is one of those kind of species that they should probably have actual villagers for, and not just the special characters, because they look great as well. Like, Lottie is proof that like they can do it well, so come on Nintendo, bring otters into the game. Next up we have Luna, so she is obviously the one that allows you to go into the dreams and visit various people's islands, or in New Leaf, visit other people's towns. She has a unique design, being a tapir, very kind of, I think, fitting for the whole kind of dream suite. Design wise, she looks good, so that's where she's headed. Okay, next up we have Lyle. Lyle was brought in, I believe, for New Leaf and was part of the Happy Home Academy. I've always assumed that the Happy Home Academy on New Horizons is kind of done by him, but you don't actually see him at all. Design wise, I think he's good. Like, I don't think he's anywhere near as good as Lottie, but he's alright. Like, again, much kind of like Lottie, proves that they can actually do the model fairly well. And I think they could make kind of unique designs as well. He's going in okay. I think he could be better, but design wise he's fine. Okay, next up we have Mabel, so one of the Taylor sisters, and yeah, I think design wise absolutely great. She's obviously the kind of face of the tailors, so she's the one selling the clothes to you. She's going in good, much like her sister Label in New Leaf. Okay, Nat. So Nat is a chameleon, and he would be the one that hosted the bug tournaments in New Leaf and I believe other games as well. I kind of like his design. Obviously, the fact he's a chameleon, his eyes are very big, which is a little bit off-putting, but to be fair, that's pretty accurate for a chameleon. I always appreciate the fact that, you know, whilst he was hungry for the insects that you gave him for the tournament, he didn't just kind of chomp on them straight away, I believe, if memory serves anyway. So he's going in okay. Like I said, I found that really kind of off-putting with Chip, that he would just kind of eat the fish there and then. I don't think Nat did that, and so that's the reason why he's been put higher. Okay, Orville. I kind of like the addition of the Dodo twins in New Horizons. Obviously named after the Wright brothers, and it's kind of iconic because, you know, they were the first ones to invent the aeroplane. And then you've got Dodos, which don't fly. So yeah, it's fun that Orville and Wilbur are both kind of named after people that obviously pioneered the aviation, I guess, industry. Design-wise, he looks great. Does he deserve to be in good or great, though? I'm going to put him in good. I do like the items that they provide when you use the Dodo flying service, or Dodo Airlines, I guess, over a certain amount of times. Just a nice collection to have. Okay, Pascal, the otter, obviously the kind of various hippie vibe otter. So I kind of like his design. I don't actually like it as much as Lottie or even Lyle, to be honest. But again, it shows that they can have uniqueness with the various designs, and kind of just makes me want to push this otter villager agenda that I've got. More at Nintendo. Not that they're going to listen to me. Come on, Nintendo, do it. What have you got to lose? But design-wise, I think he's pretty good. I like the items that he gives you in New Horizons. And I love his home truths, man. Okay, we have Parvey next, and Parvey is an absolute icon. I love the event, obviously the Festivale. I really enjoyed it in New Leaf. I really enjoy it in New Horizons. I love the items that you get in New Horizons. I didn't so much enjoy the Festivale furniture in New Leaf. It kind of gave me retirement home vibes, but I'm glad that they've completely redone that. They've actually made it a lot more kind of fitting. It's going great, or best of the best, even. It's going in best of the best. There we go. I had to just scroll up to actually get to best of the best. Next we have Pelly, who was one of the post office clerks in New Leaf, and I believe other games as well. She was the one that kind of did the day shift. She was always kind of very, very sweet, very kind. Design-wise, I think she looks good. She's going into good. Obviously, she was part of this whole love triangle with Phyllis, and then the next character, Pete, as well. So Pete was the kind of man on the job, the one who would deliver various letters when you actually sent them through via the post office. Again, he looks good. You would actually see him every now and again just kind of walking around the islands or the town. Certainly in New Leaf, I assume on other games as well. But design-wise, he looks good. Okay, next up is Phineas. So Phineas, I'm not sure what games he was in. It may have just been New Leaf, but every now and again you would see him about your town and you'd get excited because he would then give you badges. So the same as the unlocking the various kind of achievements in New Horizons, he would give you these various badges to say that you've caught, say, 1,000 fish, or you've done all these different achievements, and so you would actually get excited when you see him. You didn't always see him, that's the reason why you would get excited. So, functionality, he was great. Design-wise, I think he deserves to be in good. It's always nice when they include a more unique kind of species, so I believe he's a sea lion, but they have kind of nailed that. The last of the pelicans is Phyllis. So she would be the post office clerk that did the night shift. She would always be very kind of passive aggressive, a little bit kind of mean. When I first started playing New Leaf, I didn't really like her very much. However, I've mentioned this before, I have done a night shift since playing that game, and everyone's generally miserable. Everyone's very kind of sarcastic, and so I really do kind of appreciate her a lot more. Design-wise, I think that the fact that she's pink, and obviously a bit different, I kind of like that. So I'm actually going to put her in great. I like the fact that she's sassy as well. I'm just going to raise it up so you can see. There we go. So she is in great. Yeah, the fact that she's sassy and obviously is passive aggressive, I just like that. It's a little bit of kind of a different touch. The fact that obviously they're in this kind of weird love triangle thing with Pelly, who loves Pete, but Pete really loves Phyllis, and Phyllis just doesn't really care. There's a little bit of intrigue there, and it makes just things a bit kind of interesting as well. It's nice to see that there is some kind of actual relationship between the NPC characters as well. So yeah, I just love the drama. Next up we have Porter. Porter may have been in other games as well, but I know him from New Leaf. He was the one who controlled the train station, so if you wanted to visit other towns, he would be the one you had to go to. He was kind of what Orville does nowadays. But design-wise, I think he looks great. He's actually, in my opinion, probably the best looking monkey that they have in the series. I wish they did a lot more of the kind of villager monkeys, a lot like him, to be honest. I'd be a lot more happy having monkeys on my island or in my town if they looked like him. So he'll be going into the good section. Okay, next up we have Red. So obviously very shifty fox, tries to sell you his shady art. Where did he get it from? Who knows? Design wise, looks amazing. Obviously very kind of fitting with the fox, meant to be very cunning, a little bit sneaky as well. Very fitting that he's the one that obviously sells this art or counterfeit art, etc. I think he goes in best of the best, honestly. So I'm just going to raise that up. Fabulous. So yeah. It's a bit of personal bias, but I really do like foxes myself as well. They're probably my favourite animal, so that probably helps. Okay, next up we have Reese, so the wife of Cyrus, and design-wise, I think she's absolutely adorable. She looks cute. I don't much care for the wedding event, which is generally kind of her main focus is, I guess, on New Horizons. But obviously the fact that they came back with her and Cyrus, and then they can re-customize all the various items and turn it into the colours you want, is just great. So she's going into the great section. Okay, next up is Rossetti. So if you'd played any kind of game before New Horizons, people had some quips with Rossetti. Obviously, if you didn't save your game and then you just turned it off, he would then scream at you the next time you turned on the game, telling you to save it and save it properly. People kind of miss that, to be honest. Like, it's very kind of cutesy now. Like, there's no kind of real meanness, and people I think seem to miss the meanness that, say, Rossetti would give you. But design-wise, obviously, I think they nailed the kind of mole look. The fact that he obviously looks mean when he's meant to be mean. So yeah, he's going into the good section. In New Horizons, I believe he's the one who sorts out the kind of rescue service as well, so you only really hear his voice, so you don't actually see him in-game, which is a bit of a shame, but it's implied that he has a functionality in the game, so that's at least nice. Next up we have Rover. So Rover was always the one that kind of spoke to you on the bus, on the train, etc, etc. When you start up a new game, he would be the one that essentially helps you decide what your appearance will be in the game, and when you're obviously naming like the town that you're going to be either taking over or being a part of. That functionality has obviously been replaced by Tommy and Timmy working at the kind of check-in desk of the airport when you first start up New Horizons. But they did bring him back for the kind of the Maze event, the Mayday, I believe, Mayday tour. It's a shame that he doesn't have more kind of a functionality, but he is kind of an icon of Animal Crossing. It's just like a typical character, a typical NPC that a lot of people really do love. Very simple design, but great in my opinion. So great he goes. So next up we have Sahara, who is obviously our wallpaper, flooring and rug salesperson. So obviously she's made to look like a camel, so she comes from the exotic lands. She has a bit of a kind of a, funny accent because of that, but design wise I think they nailed it. I love the kind of the mystery of where she got all these kind of wallpapers and various things from. I appreciate the fact that obviously she came back for New Horizons, so every now and again you would see her just on your island, but the fact that obviously she is then part of Halves Island and the 2.0 update, and so she becomes one of those vendors, is really kind of handy, especially if you want to then obviously redesign homes or various other kind of the villager homes once you've done the DLC. So I would often find myself going over there buying new flooring, new wallpapers, new rugs to really try and make my house the best design it can be. That being said, I think she's going in good. So next up we have Sable, the shyest of the three sisters. She's obviously a New Horizons, the one that was always kind of behind the sewing machine. She's very shy to start with, and you have to kind of like essentially force yourself to talk to her so that she opens up to you, and then she eventually gives you all these kind of various different fabric patterns for when you customize your furniture. She gives you a lot of information, certainly regarding the sisters in New Horizons, and she's just adorable. She's going into the great section. She's actually, I think, much like many people to be honest, probably my preferred sister of the Able sisters. I just like the shyness, and that she's it takes a little bit of time for her to open up to you. I really do think something like that would work really well as far as a villager personality as well. So you have to talk to them a few times, then they kind of open up, they get a little bit more friendly to you, and then they start talking to you like really friendly. And then if you see them interact with various other villagers, maybe they're a bit kind of like a little bit kind of reserved and things. I think that would be a really cute idea. Next up we have is Serena, who is a Chihuahua dog, I believe. I'm not sure which game she was from, but I do know a little bit of backstory regarding her. You had to throw in, I believe, your shovel or axe into a fountain, the town fountain, and then if you were lucky, she would kind of pop up, bless your gift, I guess, and then that's how you would receive either the gold shovel or the gold axe. I'm not sure which one, but I don't really know too much about her. Design-wise, she is kind of cute, but honestly, I think I'm going to put her in don't know, just because I don't know her well enough to really judge. It feels very unfair. Wouldn't be too unhappy if they brought her back. Like, she's very cute, kind of very chibi-esque design, so she's on the smaller side. But yeah, she could have a function maybe in the new series, who knows. So next up we have the Snowmen family. So there's Snowtyke, Snowboy, Snowmam and Snowman. So obviously they replaced these guys with just a generic kind of snowman in New Horizons. I did appreciate the fact that obviously in New Leaf, I don't know if they're in other games as well, you have to excuse me for that, but in New Leaf you could obviously make the various different sizes and they would give you different items because of that. It gave it a bit more kind of challenge in that you weren't always trying to make the same perfect snowman. Maybe you're trying to make the mum this time, maybe you're trying to make the snow boy. Maybe you're trying to make the quote-unquote dad. You know, it just made it a little bit kind of more fun. So yeah, design-wise, obviously they are snowmen, so they're very simple, but they look decent enough. They're going in okay. Okay, Timmy and Tommy. So obviously just smaller versions of Tom Nook, to be honest. They're the ones that run the Nook Cranny. I forget what it's called in New Leaf. Obviously it goes through 3 different iterations, like T&T Mart and Nook's Emporium. I could be making that up, but yeah, design wise they're adorable. Some people have beef with them over the fact that obviously they're kind of like Tom Nook, so they just want money, but they're going into great. What's going on here? Why, there we go. For some reason my mouse wasn't showing the fact it was in great, even though it was, so it looked like I was really high on the web browser, but oh well. Okay, speaking of Timmy and Tommy being smaller versions of Tom Nook, next up is Tom Nook. So he's an absolute icon of the series, pretty much the mascot along with Isabel nowadays, but he's the main reason that obviously you have debts in the first place. He's the reason you have to go and collect bugs, collect fish, obviously sell all the various items, you need to pay off that loan to get the house, and I think he has a bad rap. Obviously he makes you kind of work for all these different items, he gives you these massive debts, but what would you do otherwise, you know? There's no game if he doesn't give you a reason to actually kind of work for it. So he's going in great. I think anything other than that would be just kind of injustice, honestly. Okay, next up we have is Tortimer. So Tortimer was always the mayor of the town in the Animal Crossing series. He got replaced in New Leaf essentially by the player. So you're the one that actually replaces him in New Leaf, but he does have Tortimer Island, so he's the one that owns the essentially mini-game island, and then obviously it's very tropical, so that's where you go and go and catch the exotic kind of bugs, fish, and you can make an absolute fortune. I'm not really kind of upset over the fact that they replaced him with the player, but he did make his brief appearance in New Horizons as part of the 2.0 update and Halves Island. He's the storage guy, so he's very helpful when you want to customize a lot of items, but you just obviously don't have the inventory space, so you just nip to him, get things in and out of the storage, obviously go to Reese and Cyrus, and then you could put it back in storage. So functionality, he's really good. Design wise, he's alright. I'm going to put him in okay. Okay, next up is Wilbur. So obviously the second half of the Dodo twins. He's the one that actually flies the seaplane out to the islands when you're doing villager hunts and things like that. Design wise, again, he looks good. I did say when I was talking about Orville that I really appreciate the fact that they're named after the Wright brothers. It's just kind of a funny, ironic twist that obviously they're dodos, yet they're the ones that are flying you. Yeah, he's going in good. Next up is Wisp. So Wisp is obviously a ghost. You find him floating around your island in New Horizons every now and again, just at night. I don't really mind the quote-unquote mini-game that he gives you in New Horizons. So obviously you've got to go and collect the 5 pieces of him, and so that he can then give you a gift. It's annoying that I feel like the choice you make, whether it be something new or something expensive, doesn't really matter. It's a good way of getting new furniture and things like that, wallpaper, flooring, when you first started an island. But once you've had your island for a while, it just feels kind of pointless to go to him, to be honest. Design-wise, he's very simple. I wish he had a bit more functionality in the game. Yeah, I'm going to put him an OK. If memory serves, I think he had better functionality in New Leaf. He would kind of be the way you could bring characters in via the amiibo cards. I think he would kind of pop up when you tried using an amiibo card, and then he would turn into the character that you were trying to essentially bring into your town. I really like that kind of feature. Okay, next up is Zipper T Bunny, and much like most of the Animal Crossing players that I know, I hate him. I hate the mystery of it, because obviously it looks like a mascot costume. The fact that he obviously alludes to the fact that there is a zip back there, and so who actually knows what is inside that costume? He's always jumping around and obviously bouncing around like a bunny. Then if you just come down the screen enough, you'll obviously see him just kind of on the edge of the horizon, and then he'll kind of sigh as if like he's just a guy that's tired. He's sick of this kind of charade, but he has to keep it up. He's going in bad. As far as New Horizons, the items you actually get for Bunny Day aren't too bad. They're not something I particularly enjoy, but I like the kind of variation. I like the fact that they are quite colourful, so they do work for various kind of themes if you're designing your island that way. But just his character is really unsettling, and when they first brought out New Horizons, obviously the Bunny Day event was just far too long. It just became a chore, especially when that was the first event that you actually came across in the game when they released it. I think they released it the 20th of March, so it wasn't long before you hit that event, and then it just seemed to kind of drain any enthusiasm you had for the game, but you pressed on knowing that better times were ahead. Okay, lastly we have the 3 birds that are the owners of the OK Motors, I believe, in Pocket Camp. So I haven't played Pocket Camp, so I don't really know anything about these 3. Design wise, they're kind of cute. I like the variations. Obviously one's kind of thin, one's a bit shorter, but I honestly don't know anything about them, so unfortunately they're all going into don't know. So this is my full list in its entirety. So thank you for watching if you watched it this far into the video. If there's any characters you disagree with their placements, then feel free to let me know where you would put them in the comments below. So thank you very much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't done already. Like the video, obviously, if you did like it. And join me for the next one, where I plan to make a speed build for the Nook's Cranny on Tanglewood. So yeah, thank you very much. Have a good one, and I'll see you next time. Bye!